Hi everyone. Good morning. Good to see you here. Good to be here. So want to talk today just for a little bit about how do you get your people back into the office productively and positively, and so that they're happy to be coming back to the office, as well as how do you still allow for remote work so that people can work from home and have full accountability and really still be showing up and creating a good amount of work output and whatnot. Like how do you do both? This last week there's a lot of pieces in the media and also conversations that our team had with executives being really frustrated about remote work and feeling like their people aren't being productive and they're not actually getting the stuff done that they're supposed to be getting done, and that in some cases they're not even opening their laptops for 30 days. I just read a story about that this morning. And basically what they're seeing and what we're seeing is, that they're concerned about productivity, and they're also noticing the deterioration around relationships and collaboration and psychological safety when part of their workforce is remote and part is in the office. Also, there's a feeling of frustration for the people who are having to come back often. While a lot of people are excited to be back, there's also a lot of people that don't want to come back. So how do you actually activate the energy of your people in the right direction so that you can bring them back into the office and create the kind of culture you want to create now? And it's going to have to be different than the way that you did it before the pandemic. It's just things have just changed too much. People have really had an opportunity to kind of go to their rooms and think about things for the last 3 years and really define what's important to them now. And a lot of people, as we're seeing, they want to work from home. They want to work from home. So how do you make it so that people come back to the office, if they're coming back totally productively and feeling nourished and inspired to be there, excited to be there? And then how do you also make the space for people working from home, still being excited to be there, productive, and showing up 100% as if they were actually in the office? So I think that instead of focusing on everything that's not working, I think what I'd like to do today is focus on the possibility and what's possible when you do a couple of things to get people aligned and really grounded in why they're working with your company and what's important to them and what they actually want to create together. So one of the first things to start thinking about is we need people to feel, you want to make sure that your people feel connected to the purpose of your organization. They need to feel connected to the purpose of your organization. They need to feel seen. They need to feel cared about. They need to feel that you as their leader are watching out for them. And they need to feel like their work matters. So those are some things to start thinking about. If you really want to activate the energy of your workforce, people need to be connected to purpose. They need to feel seen. They need to know they matter. They need to be working on stuff they care about, and they need to feel safe. So it's just something to start noticing. How's your organization doing in creating that? One of the quickest ways you can start to create that is actually by making sure that your leaders are trained to really navigate this new form of leadership, this new way of leading now in a post-pandemic world, that your leaders are really trained to have true intentional energetic presence, to be able to create true psychological safety, to be able to truly coach their people in their growth around what's important about them working at the company and who they're becoming and what they're going to grow into. So, right there, if you just start to look at that, you're going to start to see hopefully some little clues around what you might be able to do differently as an organization, as a leader, to start to create that. With our organization, we teach the IEP method, which is intentional energetic presence. And part of that methodology is really in helping people get really grounded in what their sense of accountability is, what their purpose is, what their values are, how they're showing up, so that they can come to the workforce really, really, really authentically energized and inspired to be there. So something to think about there. If that's something you want to talk about, we'd love to talk to you, because we do work with organizations to help their workforce get trained around that, so they come to the table with more of a presence of accountability and more authentic connection to why it's important for them to be showing up 100%, whether they're at home or in the office. But what I notice is that if you have people taking full accountability, and this means your workforce, your employees, your leaders, your CEO, if you have people taking full accountability for the culture that they're creating, and for the way that they're showing up, you get to start having a different kind of conversation around bringing people back to the office or having people be remote. So the conversation starts to shift. And this is one of the reasons why I wrote Contagious Culture. For those of you that may or may not be familiar with that, is Contagious Culture. We talk about how every single person in the organization is creating the culture. So right now, as you look at your remote, your hybrid, your back to office people, and you look at the culture that's getting created, right now, what I notice is the cultures that are getting created are very disorganized. There's not a clear intention behind what's going to happen. So the invitation is to start to take a step back and pause. I talked about this in a video earlier this week. We've got to take a step back and pause and look at what we're creating and why are we creating it. And this ties directly into what we're seeing in the headlines right now. I think that a huge part of the problem is executives, leaders, human beings, period, are so overwhelmed by the ambiguity and all the constant changes and just everything that we've all gone through. We've gone through a really big, hard period of time. I think people are so overwhelmed and value systems have shifted that unless we take a collective pause to take a step back and really look at what is the culture we want to be creating and how do we create a culture that inspires people to come back and feel good about it, and how do we create a culture that inspires people to be able to work from home and still give 100% or do remote. I'm a big fan of the hybrid situation where you get people in for part of the week and then and then they get to be out for part of the week, so we kind of bring the best of all worlds together. But unless you are really helping them get grounded in why they're doing it and that they matter, and they're feeling, unless they're feeling safe and seen by their leaders and, all the stuff that goes with that, unless that's happening, it's going to be hard to get any kind of engagement or to have your energy directed in the right places. So this goes for your workforce. This goes for you. This goes for your executives. This goes for anybody listening to this. All right, so that's it. I'm going to leave it here. Just food for thought for you. We're going to be talking about directing the energy of your workforce in the right places. Actually, next week we have an executive forum coming up on April 28th, next Friday. Our executive forums are by invitation only. They're for senior leaders and executives who are responsible for essentially activating the energy of their workforce in the right direction so that y'all can move into this next chapter as productively as possible, and that you can retain your best people, and that you can inspire your workforce, and that you can create your best results. And so that imagine a world where instead of being so stressed out about all the stuff that's not working, we're actually really looking at all the stuff that is, and we're focused on creating positive energy workplaces that do their best work. And it doesn't matter if they're working from the office or they're working at home. And guess what? When they're working from home, what if they were actually really excited to come to the office? What if people started to be excited to come to the office because they're so thrilled about the work that you're doing, and they're so seen and cared for by their leadership, and the culture feels so good that they want to be in the office? The fact that people don't want to come into the office is not just because it's convenient to stay at home. There is likely something bigger happening there. So we're going to talk more about this all in next week's forum. If you'd like to join us, I'll go ahead and put the banner up for you so you can sign up here. Go ahead and sign up there. If it looks like it's the right forum and we have enough space, we'll go ahead and get you an invitation. If not, we'll definitely get you into a future one. And hope this has been helpful and gives you a little bit of food for thought to support you in your leadership as we move to the next chapter. I would love to see us focusing on the right things and not focusing on all the stress and all things that aren't working well right now. Wouldn't it be great? Okay. Take care. Have a beautiful